Hello, students of class 9. I'm sure you are doing good. Today, I'm here to explain to you the second chapter of your history. The name of the chapter is Growth of Indian Nationalism. So, let us start looking at the chapter. So, as the chapter says, Growth of Indian Nationalism, we need to understand what is the meaning of the word nationalism. You see, the term nationalism is very closely connected with the term nation. All right. So, nation, as you know, is country. So, what is nationalism? Nationalism means the belief in the superiority and pride in one's own country. What does that mean? It means that you believe that your country is the best and you are very proud of your country. Clear? What is nationalism? Nationalism, the definition, if you want, it is written here on the screen as you can see it. I'm explaining to you a little bit more about what is nationalism so that you can understand it clearly. Nationalism means that you believe in the superiority of your country. What does the whole thing, superiority of one's country, mean? It means that you believe that your country is the best. And what? You have to have pride in your country. Now, to believe that your country is the best and to have any pride in your country, first of all, you need to have a country. Is it not? First of all, you need to have a country. Then only you can be proud of it. So, did the people of ancient India not have a country? They had a country. This was their country. India was their country. But, you see, for various reasons, what had happened was that India was a collection of several small states. On your screen right now, you can see the map of India during the British rule. So as you know, during the British rule, almost the entire India was under one British rule. But even at that time, you can see these yellow, the red part is that part of India, are those parts of India where the British rule or the British power existed. And the yellow parts are those parts where the British rule didn't exist. There were local rajas. Are you getting the point? There were local rajas there, or these are known as princely states. Local kings in India, they were known as rajas. So local rajas. So even in the British period, you see India was divided into several small kingdoms, and each kingdom thought that it was their own country. So Assam was ruled by the Ahoms. For the people of Assam, Assam was their country. The place where we stay, Kachar, had its own kingdom, the Kachari kingdom. And for the people of Kachar, Kachar was the kingdom. For the people of Manipur, Manipur was the country. For the people of Rajasthan, Rajputana was their country. For the people of central India, you see this vast portion of central India, this was their own country. In Maharashtra, the Marathas, this was their country. So nobody could really understand because India was divided into so many parts. So for everybody, their local kingdom was their country. This concept of India from Kashmir to Kanyakumari and from Guwahati to Gujarat, it is an entire India. This concept was non-existent. Are you getting the point? So when I say in those times, if I would say that were the Indians not proud of India, the answer is at that time, Indians were not proud of India because there was no concept of India. Bharatvarsh was there in our texts, but in our ancient texts, Bharatvarsh was there. But then what happened was that it was only in the textbooks. All the independent kings, because Indians, we had a bad habit and even today, we have this bad habit. We fight among ourselves. So all these individual kings, they fought against each other and they had their own kingdom. And each kingdom was a country. So this whole country called India, it never existed. So how did the Indians understand that this whole country is one country? How did they understand this? And how did this pride on India develop inside the people? This pride developed during the British period, it is true. But how did this pride develop? So you see, before I go into how did this pride develop, you see, the long period of foreign rule, what had it done? It had weakened the pride of the Indians in their own country. But some developments during the British regime restored this pride. So as I told you, India was divided into several small kingdoms and there was no concept called India. But the British, unknowingly, they did some good things for India. Unknowingly, they did some good things for India. What are those unknowingly? What did they do that the people of India began to appreciate their country? This is what we will study in our chapter. Clear? So, what are those things? The expansion of education, transport and communication. These expansion, what did they do? So the British, for their own purpose, the British, what did they do? What did the British do? For their own necessity, the British actually introduced certain things in India, like modern education, like transport and communication. See, if the British had to rule India, they needed an educated workforce. If the British had to rule India, if they had to do business, they needed roads, they needed railway, they needed communication systems, quick communication systems. So the British needed all these things for their own need. So they introduced these things to India. But when they introduced these things in India, it also had a side effect. The side effect, which was a good effect for us, the side effect was that the Indians suddenly realized, because of education, because of transport and communication, Indians suddenly realized that, this is not this, our country is India, and our country stretches from Kashmir to Kanyakumari, from Assam to Gujarat. It is this vast country is one country, and we are people of this big country. All right. So we shall see one by one how the spread of education, how the spread of transport and communication, how the spread of modern Western thoughts and movements helped us in understanding that this is one country, and how it helped us in gaining pride in our country. So, factors that led to the growth of Indian nationalism. Now, these are the four main factors that led to the great growth of nationalism. Once again, let me remind you, by now, I hope you understand what is nationalism. What is nationalism? Nationalism is the pride in one's own country. So what are those factors that led to this growth of nationalism? Number one, of course, is spread of modern education. Number two is introduction and spread of modern transport and communication. Number three is socio-religious movements. And number four is role of the press. So when you look at this, it might seem very difficult, but today I shall tell you about the first 2 points, how spread of modern education led to the growth of nationalism, and how introduction and spread of modern transport and communication led to the growth of nationalism. First of all, let us look at how modern education began in India. Modern education began in India mainly through the Christian missionaries. The Christian missionaries, they took the early steps in reviving education in India. Actually, when the British came to India for some time, for many years, for 30, 40 years, the education of India was completely destroyed. So you will ask me, what was the condition of Indian education before the coming of the British? Before the coming of the British, Indians, as you know, are very divided on religious lines. So the Hindu students went to Sanskrit tolls and the Muslim students went to madrasas. And there they mainly studied religion. They did not study much they did not have much modern education. But when the British came, the Christian missionaries, ironically, first started giving modern education to the Indians. So the credit for the spread of modern education in India primarily, first of all, goes to the Christian missionaries. At that time, the British government or the East India Company did not take any steps for the spread of modern education. But in the year 1813, an act called the Charter Act was passed. And what did the Charter Act do? The Charter Act allowed the British officials to spend rupees 1 lakh per year for educating Indians. So please take out your copy and write down the first question. The first question is, which act provided the British government to spend rupees 1 lakh per year for educating Indians? I will repeat this question slowly. Write down the question. Which act allowed the British officials to spend rupees 1 lakh per year for the education of Indians? Which act allowed the British officials to spend rupees 1 lakh per year for the education of the Indians? So the answer is the Charter Act of 1813. So the Charter Act 1813 was a big step forward in the education of India. For the first time, the British officials will be spending rupees 1 lakh per year for the education of the Indians. Before that, the British did not spend any money or any resources towards the education of India. Charter Act provided in 1813, the Charter Act provided the first step by which the British officials began to spend money for educating the Indians. The next big thing happened in the year 1835. You see, today we are having this lesson in history in the English language. When did Indians start studying English? You see, when the British decided that they would spend 1 lakh rupees per year, at that time it was a very big amount of money, 1 lakh rupees for the education of the Indians. At that time, there started a debate. Some people said that this 1 lakh rupees, the debate between British only. The British were divided into two groups. One group said that this money should be spent in development of the Sanskrit language, Sanskrit and Urdu, ancient Indian languages. But in 1835, Lord Macaulay, he said that this money should be spent for the use of English as a medium of instruction in India. You study in English medium schools, is it not? This thing started in the year 1835, and the person who did it was Lord Macaulay. So in 1835, Lord Macaulay said that we must spend the money to spread English medium education in India. So who was the person who advocated the spread of English medium education in India? This is the second question. Write down the question. Who advocated the use of English as a medium of education in India? Who advocated for the use of English as the medium of instruction in India? The answer is Lord Macaulay in the year 1835. In 1854, a very important law, you may say it's not a law, but a rule was passed. And that rule was known as the Woods Dispatch. In 1854, the name of the Woods Dispatch comes from the name of Sir Charles Wood. He was a member of the Board of Control of the East India Company, and he presented the first plan for a systematic modern education system in India. Right? So this is the Woods Dispatch. And what did the Woods Dispatch do? The Woods Dispatch, for the first time, laid a plan for a systematic modern education system in India. You see, today when we go to school, the first class we attend is a nursery or a KG1. Then we gradually go on, and then we pass our metric, then we pass our higher secondary, then we pass our college and go to the university. This system was not there in ancient India. This hierarchical system from school to high school to college to university, this system was not there. It is the Woods Dispatch that brought this system into modern Indian brought this modern system into India. So that was about education. What about introduction of modern transport and communication? Here is a table in front of you which shows how the British began to introduce modern transport and communication systems in India. Transport, as you know, it is a means of going from one place to another. So vehicles, ships, trains, buses, these are transport. Communication, telephone, telegraph, letters, the way in which we exchange messages between one another is called communication system. So introduction of modern transport and communication. You see, before the British came into India, we used to write letters and trained pigeons used to carry those letters. Or we used to write letters and hand it over to a horseman, and he would travel on the horseback and deliver our letters. It was a very time consuming thing. And when it comes to travel, we used to travel either by bullock carts or on horsebacks or on tongas. But from 1839, those systems began to change. In 1839, the Grand Trunk Road was constructed from Calcutta to Delhi. This road was later extended up to Peshawar during the time of Lord Dalhousie. Now, Lord Dalhousie was, we will remember Lord Dalhousie as the man who did a lot for the introduction of modern transport and communication systems in India. All right. And the Grand Trunk Road at that time was the longest road in India, which started from Calcutta and extended all the way to Delhi. And that road was constructed in the year 1839. The train, the first train in India, ran 21 kilometers from Bombay to Thane in the year 1853. The first telegraph wire was laid between Calcutta and Diamond Harbour in the year 1839. And now come to Assam. The first train in Assam runs between Sadia and Dibrugarh in the year 1883. Please copy this table in your notebooks and remember these dates. These are very, very important. So this was all about how modern education spread in India and how modern transport and communication spread in India. Please read this and also read pages number. I will just tell you the number of pages that you have to read. So you can read pages. I will show you this, your book here. So this book, chapter 2, page number 24, page number 25, and page number 26. These 3 pages you will read. I will give you questions later on, questions based on these 3 pages. If you did not understand this, please rewind this video and watch this video again. This is a very important chapter, and questions from this part are both easy and scoring. I hope you have understood this chapter. Thank you very much for watching.